Hello everybody, pull up a stocking and crack a brandy because it's the annual Christmas episode of the Large Blast podcast. Coming to you live from the Crimbo Cottage. And I know what you're thinking. Why are all the decorations Emperor's Children themed? Well, we bought them last year when we thought Fulgrim was going to come out, so... Oh, what's that? Is that a knock at the door? Let's go see who it is, shall we?
Ho, 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 it's Fulgrim Christmas!
Sorry, Matt, we're not doing that anymore. It didn't happen. Sorry, mate.
Oh no, not again.
I know, I'm sorry, Matt, it didn't happen. Isn't it a shame that Welshie couldn't be here as well? He's away in New Zealand, so...
What, to feel that disappointment as well as me?
Hang on, what's that noise? Do you hear a sound upon the horizon? It sounds like a helicopter.
Is that somebody paragliding out of the helicopter? Do you see that?
I do. I think I do. Holy shit, he's backflipped off the paraglider and is now snowboarding down the mountain. I think that's right, he's heading this way. Holy shit, Matt, you don't think it is?
Hey, it's me, Welshie. Merry Sanguinalia. Let's all get naked and celebrate Fulgrim, boys.
Oh no, sorry, we're not doing the Emperor's Children thing. Sorry, mate, it didn't happen.
What?
It's sorry, man. No.
Yeah, you sound as disappointed as I just was.
Yeah, sorry,
unbelievable.
Guys. Anyway,
what's the point in Christmas?
So I believe this is as good a point as any to get on with things with hobbies goings on, where we find out what's been going on hobby-wise in the Christmas hosts' lives. So Matt, why don't you come back inside, crack open an eggnog and tell us a little bit about what's been going on in your hobby life.
Eggnog. I literally haven't done anything since we last spoke in the cat episode. But one thing I've been meaning to say for ages, well, for like what, nearly 6 months, 5 months, is when you went away, Welshie, you gave me all those spray paints and you were like, throw them away or use them. And I was like, what? There's 10 spray paints. What the hell am I going to do with all of these? I thought, oh, actually, it's perfect time to base coat all the terrain that I have in the loft. You know, you see, like with Games Workshop kits, you just slowly build up a collection of terrain pieces. I say slowly, but Jesus, I didn't quite realize how much I had up there, like from plastic kits and stuff. So I used all of your spray paints. They didn't go in the bin. They all got used for base painting all of this terrain, which I'll put like a wash on further down the line. But all of this stuff is no longer grey plastic, but it was like a real eye opener when I cutting it up and gluing it together to spray it.
Yeah,
it was like, holy
I got
fuck,
like a mountain of that stuff.
Yeah, it just like
Not
comes
just
out of nowhere.
But the thing that I've got like boxes and boxes of is all that like scatter terrain that comes in the large boxes now. Like when you buy the Kilty, you get all of those like ammo crates and doors and barricades, and they just pop up because I just can't be asked to paint them. But you're right, a quick spray and they'd probably be fine. Yeah, and they're better than just being in the grey box. But literally, other than that, I'm actually I'm trying to finish off your models, Stoney. They're nearly done.
Matt.
I know you have.
Trying to butter me up with that old lie. Only watched it so many times, mister.
They're so close to being done.
Are you following my paint tutorial?
Well, no. I'm doing my own one, but I did reference your dog breed in the video. But in the end, I went with it's like a Great Dane. It's like white and black, just to be a bit different.
Oh, nice.
And the pew is it's okay, but I tried to do it as like wood grain, so it's like pine, like varnished pine, like it's straight from a church. You know, like in churches they're like wood. So I'm trying to they're all like nearly done. I think they look quite cool, and I'm still working on this like trebuchet, which I've done like a base for, so it's like kind of like the bases sit inside a round base. It's like a diorama of the trebuchet. So that's
is that the new old trebuchet? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess to piggyback off the back of what you just said, Matt, and this also kind of shows how this podcast is aged during the time before we started, where we always used to have a bunch of hobby progress and that, right? But we're super busy now. Matt's been working on my model, apparently for
a year. It's so nearly done.
Just also filtering in Bretonian knights that seem to be popping out all over the place. Yeah, right. A likely story. But like recently, I've been doing like old person stuff, and like we bought a new cooker. And obviously that came with a good deal of very interesting polystyrene, which you're looking at and you're like, oh yeah. Just finding excellent polystyrene. There's such a... I got rid of it. I'm going to be straight up with you. Yeah. I didn't use it for anything. I got rid of it, but I remember I looked at it. I saw all the possibilities. I thought about them.
I feel you. This farm I'm working on at the moment over in New Zealand, the people I'm working for, they got a big new fridge delivered the other day, and I had to unbox it and install it. And oh my God, it had some perfect terrain. And
if you brought home polystyrene from your holiday to make warhammer terrain,
you'd be well happy.
That'd be an excellent short. Unboxing and taking home polystyrene.
It's so funny that you say that. This morning's job that I was doing was installing our new fridge, and there was some polystyrene on the inside, and I did the same thing. Like I think we all do. You look at it and you think, God, that looks like a bit of interesting piece of polystyrene. And then in my head, I was like, remember when I jokingly said to you guys that we should like fill the barn up with terrain and just run around dressed up as Titans?
Oh yeah.
But then in my head it flashed, but it was all like expanded foam glued together with polystyrene, like a whole city, and like just quickly painted grey.
Oh man, I had initially poo-pooed this idea. I'm kind of coming round to it. I think
I hate working with it though.
Yeah.
Well, if you get like the melted cutters and stuff, I always used to use a soldering iron.
It's quite good as like a base to put other stuff on if you like grout it or something.
Yeah, when I was, when you're younger, you kind of don't really know what sort of glue to use and stuff. I remember like trying to glue it with PVA and stuff.
Man, oh, I remember at one time as a kid getting all this polystyrene, exactly like we're talking about, being super excited about it and using a bunch of polystyrene cement all over it.
Yeah.
And just like going to sleep in my room and getting high as fuck.
Classic.
Yeah. Welshie, what's your hobbies goings on? What's going on with you?
So I've been managing to get quite a lot done because I have finished my kind of backpacking stage of my trip, and I'm fairly sedentary over in New Zealand. So I have finished painting my Kroot kill team that I did a little video for, an Australian Kroot, and just making and putting out the videos of me painting all of the old Lord of the Rings models whilst I've been traveling.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Getting Lords of the Ringsy over in the motherland of Lords of the Rings.
Absolutely. I'm halfway through the extended edition of Return of the King.
Oh,
nice. After work viewing. Done all the extendeds. And I think I'm going to buy some more Lord of the Rings when I get home. Some of the new Warhammer. I went to see War of the Rohirrim. This is a nerdy podcast. It's really good. The new anime Lord of the Rings film.
No.
So
I didn't even heard of that at all.
New Line Cinema were basically about to run out of the rights for making future Lord of the Rings films.
Okay.
And to stop them running out of the rights, they had to make a film quickly.
Excellent.
So they made this anime film based on like the history of Rohan. So it's like a story from 200 years before the Lord of the Rings is set. Cool. And it's really, really good. It's a really good story. The animations, I'm not a massive anime guy, but it's all right. But the story is so good, and the music is all Howard Shore. It is super nostalgic. I'd recommend going and seeing it on a big screen if you can. It's really cool.
Well, that sounds good.
And Games Workshop have done the models, so those are those models you might have seen being released.
Oh,
recently.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's cool. So they've linked up with New Line Cinema again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they might have. Maybe they just had a contract that was like forever.
Yeah.
So because did New Line Cinema do the Lord of the Rings films?
Yeah.
Okay. So the new Games Workshop models are like the anime Lord of the Rings guys.
Yeah, it's weird what they've done with the models. They haven't they've kind of de-animated them in the sculpts. If you look at some of the pictures of the cartoon and some of the sculpts, they've made them a little bit more like realistic, but based on the anime characters. But there's some cool models. It's because the story's all about like guy called Helm Hammerhand, who's obviously who Helm's Deep's named after.
Helm Hammerhand. That's an amazing man. If I'd had a boy instead of a daughter, I would have called him Helm Hammerhand. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's an absolute beast. He has this like moment of standing in front of the gate alone in Helm's Deep, like smashing hundreds of orcs to pieces with his giant Viking hands.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's worth going to see. But I've been super Lord of the Ringsy and then a little bit of Crew.
Finance, cutting-edge technology. Accurate information is the Large Blast podcast news. Hear every episode.
So that's right, everybody. We've got a special bulletin. No news. But everybody's clamoring for what Matt is thinking about the new Deathcore Krieg release, the new Imperial Guard stuff. Matt, what do you think? Is it a bunch of rubber horses or is it a thumbs up from you?
Oh, it's definitely a thumbs up from me.
Nice.
It was only very recently that we were all talking about Forge World. And the rumors were out there. I'm sort of desperately trying to find some photos to remind myself of the plastic kits, but I think they're all pretty good. The Rough Riders, whatever they're called in the Deathcore Krieg, I think they're really cool, sort of alien horses, and I think they're a good homage to the original models and the command squads. To be honest, I hadn't even realized that the Imperial Guard Codex wasn't out in 10th edition. So this is like the launch set of Guard, which we've been saying for ages should be an alternative to Cadia.
That's true, and they've done it, and they've gone with the most popular, probably more popular than Cadian even.
Absolutely. They're great, and some of the artillery is good. I don't think they're quite as good as the Forge World stuff, but I think there'll be more stuff coming out.
It's really funny because I was thinking about this, and we kind of accidentally timed this perfectly with our Forge World episode, and then the release, and now the post Forge World episode. And I think I really like the models. Say that first up, but in a way, we're looking at them in post Forge World eyes. Do you know what I mean? Because there is a lean into the graphicness. They are more cartoony than I would have said the original Forge World ones are. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's just like the scale and the material that they're made from. The models have a bit more of a cartoony aspect. I
also think the heavy metal paint team is moving away. I mean, it was never that grimdark, right? Heavy metal was always about clean lines and sharp edges. I mean, that's the style has always been. But I think more recently, the kind of colors of everything's got a bit brighter. Yeah, maybe because there's just more colors available to them and more kind of techniques. But I reckon with we've said this a lot about modern models, with a dirty, grimy wash and a Blanchicci style paint job, I think they'd look a hell of a lot less cartoony than they do in the promo pics.
But would they even if you painted a model, like if you painted the new model and the old Forge World model in the same style and put them next to each other, which one would look more grimdark?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. The old style is darker. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of in a way, are we accept, because I mean, I'm just going back to the conversations we had the other day, right, in the Forge World episode where we were talking about, maybe there isn't such a place for Forge World because the design, the style change. You know what I mean? And it's difficult to say because I do really like these models, but at the same time, these do feel like a directional change in the actual ethos of Games Workshop's design, you know, like a fundamental level, right?
No,
I do agree with you. I think so.
I don't know.
I think it's bold. I was pleased that although like the smooth lines and the overall style is, I do agree, more cartoony. I was worried that they were going to ditch. I'm going to annoy Matt here because I know he could rant for hours about actual uniforms, but what people perceive as the Nazi style. I thought they might lose some of those elements, but they seem to have kept it all. And I think that's a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, I know what you mean.
Not that I'm supporting.
But I know
someone sound clip some of that and cancel Welshie.
I know what you mean, Stoney. I think, I mean, I just think it's like the Forge World, in the Forge World episode, we spoke about the tanks and Imperial armor, and the Death Corps was sort of part of that, where they're done by people that are sort of into military history and also make military history or military model making, which is like a very accurate scale. So when they were making Forge World models, they sort of had that more of a realistic aspect to them. I think it's just to do with that. The other thing,
but do you not think that's an interesting signpost to how the dynamic of the model design has changed over these years, and I mean, the word cartoony is maybe not the right word, but it's hard. It's hard to kind of So.
I think maybe when you said it first, I disagreed. I mean, I think I agree with you in an aspect. I think it's just almost accidental. It's to do with the material and maybe the way they're designed. I don't necessarily think it's deliberate. I think you've hit the nail on the head there where you say cartoony is not really the right word. I don't know, but I think what we're trying to say is they're sort of a bit more rounded. I don't know.
Do you think, Stoney, that it's got anything to do with the way that models are designed now? Because of computer-aided design. Like when I see you making ZBrush videos, it seems a hell of a lot easier to kind of make curves, whereas in the olden days it seemed like they were making models by sticking lots of bits on top of each other. Is there anything in the way that like it's designed that mean we're kind of losing some of the sharp edge detail in favor of like more kind of curvy stuff?
I mean, not necessarily. I think now models are sharper than they've ever been because of ZBrush and stuff like that. It's so easy to.
I guess that means straight lines rather than sharp molding.
What do you mean? Sorry,
I don't know how to put it into words. What I'm really trying to say.
Have another run at it. I'm ready.
All right, here's an example then. If you look at the new plastic Horus Heresy range, it is clearly a different overall design aspect to this, what we're calling more cartoony range. I think it's to do with like fine detail.
The thing is I'm not necessarily sure. I think that it's if you kind of think about it as like a family tree, like the kind of the kind of Games Workshop design. We always talk about like Armor Forge and these well-known like secondary games developers, but there's been as long as Games Workshop existed, there's been other people making models for stuff, and that's kind of like their cousin of Games Workshop. They fork out every now and again and don't go anywhere and just kind of fizzle out or whatever. But like I feel like now we've got loads of those, but particularly because of like 3D design. I mean, you could almost say Trench Crusaders or some of these new games like Turnip 21 is another new one, which is all these kind of cool new designs with 3D design and stuff, because it makes it more it does make it more accessible, but it also makes these different styles more accessible. Like Welshie, the other day, you were before you left, you were posting those Ragnarok models, and like you can see how drastically different the design ethos on those is from the Games Workshop stuff, and it's like not in a good or a bad way, but you can just see it's different, and like so you can see how easy it is for someone to put that, mass produce that and make that now, and there's all these different ways of doing things. But I continue, and I've talked about this before, but like I really in a way think that what's holding Games Workshop back is the way they want to make stuff very easy to paint. And like to go back to like the Ragnarok models, I remember, Welshie, when you were talking about painting those, you said like you basically painted them like they were on the box and you used contrasts, right, and stuff like that. And But like the thing is when I look at those models, you did a really good job of painting them, by the way, as well. This isn't me besmirching them, but when I look at those models, I see a model that's designed by someone that wants you to paint it in that kind of new Spanish style, really brushy, and like kind of like get right in there and get in there with all the little strokes and everything. It's not that it doesn't look good painted the other way, but it's just like when I look at that, I think of somebody thinking about the finished product, because that's the other thing when you're doing stuff for someone to paint. It's got to, everyone's going to interpret it differently. I think
that's a fair point. I think, especially with those Ragnarok models, they have a lot of smooth surface, like the way Games Workshop has been going, which on their box art looks great when they're getting like Maxime Pernod or Golden Demon winners to paint them. But the reason I did the contrast was because I wanted to show you could paint them quickly, because you get a hell of a lot of plastic in the box. But I think you're right. Like if you're painting models to look good on a box painted professionally, it's different to what people want aesthetically when they're doing it themselves, maybe.
Yeah. Some models are designed like, I can't remember, was it Skiba?
Sibber Miniatures.
Great. He's done loads of stuff. And I've ordered some of it in the past, like years and years ago. It's a bit like old Forge World stuff, but like turned up to 1 million. It's got all this like crazy fine detail all over it. Everything. Like you have that guy wants those models to be painted by people that are entering Golden Demon style competitions, you know, because it's just, that's how it's designed. Like you make, you know, like if you're doing like bolts on some armor or something, when I'm designing a model like that, I make the bolts quite big, because I know I'm not that good at painting. I want them to be fairly decently sized so I can do it. When you look at his shit, it's like, oh shit, I need to look at this with a 10 times loop just to fucking get in there and like try to do any of this. It's like,
you're definitely right that was older. Like I said, I've been painting a lot of the original metal Lord of the Rings models recently. For a start, they're a smaller scale. But I was painting Gollum yesterday, and he has individual hairs on his head. You know, he's got that like scraggly hair, like like someone has actually stuck hair the size of human hair on his head in individual pieces, and I just couldn't for the life of me work out how to fucking paint these hairs, because if I used contrast, it leaked all over his scalp. And if I tried to paint it out with a fine detail brush, you couldn't get in the cracks. You're right, there's definitely something to do with the models that mean they've moved away from that. You just don't get that anymore, or if you do, it's on a piece that's clearly designed to be washed, painted silver and then washed.
Definitely. I mean, like Welsh, in the last episode, Welshie, we were talking about the Emperor's Children heads, which obviously is relevant. We've got to get some Emperor's Children in the Christmas episode, right? But I mean, like when we looked at those pictures, I think we even said like they look like they're designed on ZBrush. They look like they're designed to be blasted with contrast, and you know,
I wonder whether they'll do sort of if they are losing Forge World, maybe there will be an alternative to Forge World and that fine cast stuff that they once did, where like there's some models that are just ultra detail.
And what's interesting is, and going back to the main subject, is the Deathcore Krieg could have been that range, right? This is what I'm saying. It's like would that have been it? And are they it even? I've not even seen the models in person. Maybe they are a bit more.
I mean,
intense.
I'm looking at the model. I don't think they are. They're very, very similar to the Forge World ones. I think they've done a really good job. This, like I said, the artillery is different. Also, the guard range has sort of exploded over the last 2 years, because you've got all of those tanks and the heresy stuff, which is very, very similar to the tanks that came out with the Deathcore Krieg for the Horus Heresy, that you could quite easily turn into plastic tanks for your Deathcore Krieg. But the whole range is almost nearly there. You know, the problem with the guard is it's the same. You know, this Deathcore Krieg range is lovely, but to get a full Deathcore Krieg army, I mean, to play with.
Well, maybe it is the same as what they did with the Elder, where it's like if you've got an old school army, they're going to release a bunch of new models, so you've got to re-up on it. You know, like Cadian's out. Your entire Cadian army is worth nothing now, Matt. You've got to get Deathcore and Krieg. They're the new cool hit dudes. You know, so yeah. Throw out all those battle tanks you've been working on. Throw them out. It's time to go. Sweep that shelf off. Let your cat walk all over it.
Rolling in my 6-4.
Oh ho ho! Hello everybody. It is
Me, Warhammer Santa here. The all-seeing one, the watcher in the dark. I have arisen from my yearly slumber once again to judge all you Warhammer boys and girls. Christmas is a happy time, a time for family, food and drink, a time of cold and frost, and bitter wind and bony-fingered trees that scratch at the grey sky. I know when you've been sleeping. I know when you're awake. I filed my teeth down to daggers, so your eyes I plan to take. But this year I have awoken to sad news. Once again, the Large Blast podcast boys appear to be on the naughty list. They have done something very bad, and they have stirred up a Christmas rage in me. But I am nothing if not a forgiving being, so I have decided to give them another chance. I have tasked them with the jolly job of helping me with my naughty and nice list. Let's hope they don't fuck it up, or they will toil for a century at the face of my resin smelting furnace.
So that's right, Crimbo fans. We've been tasked by Warhammer Santa to save Christmas once again. And I believe, Welshie, you have a little tale of both naughty and niceness that might help kick us off on this mammoth task of finding who is Warhammer's naughty and nice list.
Yeah, I think I do. It's a little tale of good and bad, moral and immoral, but there's some grey lines, as there always is in 40k, and there's even a planet full of snow. So very Christmassy.
Hell yeah. Everyone knows to leave a line of snow out for Santa and a mince pie.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of lines of snow and a little tube.
Hey.
So do you guys know much about the first war for Armageddon?
A little bit, yeah.
So the first war involved the Space Wolves, led by Logan Grimnar, the most Santa Clausy of all the 40k models. He even has a sleigh. Mm-hmm. So I thought, what a brilliant character to look into, and his involvement and what happens after the first war of Armageddon. So he's going to be someone I think we might be looking at as a good guy. And the bad guy in this instance is going to be an Inquisitor called Gesmi Kisneros. Have you guys heard of this guy?
No.
So he is a Inquisitor Lord, but he's kind of a weird one that seems to have loads of extra power that isn't affiliated directly with any of the Ordos. So you know there's something a bit dodgy about these fellas. They seem to be OP. And that first war of Armageddon kind of ends with him in control of lots of Imperial troops, and then the Space Wolves there, and they're fighting Khorne and a load of Khorne demons and some World Eaters, and Angron's there as well. And it's a big old battle. We won't go too much into what happens on the planet, because what happens afterwards that's interesting. So after the Space Wolves slap Angron back into the war, this Inquisitor Lord Kisneros decides that it's his remit and his responsibility to ensure that not a single person outside of this planet knows about the chaos taint that happened. So he's trying to suppress the word of chaos getting out of this planet, right?
Seems pretty good. So, yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah.
You think maybe that's a good guy. You don't want chaos to get out.
Yeah.
But he doesn't just not want the chaos to escape. He wants no rumor or knowledge of the chaos to escape. So what he does is he tricks the entire population of the planet into going to vaccination centers, which are actually forced sterilization centers.
Classic.
Sends the entire population into quarantine work camps run by RBTs.
Hang on, so you read this on the Warhammer Wiki or Infowars.com?
Oh, yeah. But take all of this with a pinch of Christmas salt.
Okay, all right. Okay.
But yeah, so he puts them into these camps, and quarantines the entire population in these work camps. Because what he obviously wants to do, being Inquisitor, is his first thought is, fuck it, let's exterminatus. But Armageddon's far too important a resource to just blow the whole thing up. So that's his plan. But Logan Grimnar is like, hang on a minute. These guys have fought valiantly side by side with the Space Wolves. There ain't no way we're not telling tales in the mead halls over Christmas about the valor of the people of Armageddon. So he comes and butts heads with the Inquisitor and is like, nah, mate, you're not going to sterilize them. You're not putting them in work camps. You may have military superiority because you've got way more Imperial men than we do Space Marines, but we've got more ships. So what we're going to do is we're just going to evacuate the planet and then guard the ships into the warp and like save these people and ship them off world. So this is like sets up these two guys against each other, Grimnar versus this Inquisitor. And a very long story, it seems short. This leads to the Space Wolves being fired upon by the Inquisition. So the Inquisition try to prevent these people from escaping, and in doing so, fire upon the Space Wolves. It's a pretty naughty thing to do, I think.
That's pretty bad.
And Grimnar, being like super good boy, decides that he's not going to react to this initial destruction of his ships because he thinks he is in the moral right and the moral high ground. And he also knows that kind of to just board a party with what he's got is going to be really difficult because also working for Kisneros is a load of Grey Knights. And the Space Wolves know that fighting Grey Knights is tricky. Yeah, he's got the Grey Knights under his service. So they managed to get some of these ships.
Sure, this isn't like a big one of those insurance scams by Grimnar or whatever. You know, when you see those people like jumping in front of cars and pretending to hurt themselves. It's like, oh, they were shooting at me. They had Grey Knights.
Yeah. The only way I'll be happy with you destroying me is if I get some of that sweet Grey Knight tech, please, for my Space Wolves. Yeah. But no, he manages to evacuate some of the people. And then Kisneros realizes that what he has to do is now not only silence Armageddon, but silence any planet which these people reach because they might tell them about Angron and Gorn.
Yeah. No witnesses, motherfucker.
That is his thing. No witnesses. So he sends the Grey Knights on what they will later come to call the month of shame. It's like No Nut November, I think.
Yeah.
The Grey Knights get sent out to like silence these planets.
The month for shame is December, right? After No Nut November, where all those guys are jacketed constantly.
So, the Grey Knights have to go and like silence these areas where these evacuees, these refugees have landed, and word of chaos has begun to be spread. And this goes on, and Kisneros and Grimnar keep fighting, and then eventually Kisneros does a classic parlay to try and get Grimnar to chat and be like, look, mate, this is why I'm doing this. Like, by the letter of the Imperial law, I'm right, you're wrong, even if you think you're morally right. And then he does that, though, from a position of strength. He tries to bargain from a position of strength against the Space Wolves and destroys some of their ships at the parlay site. Absolute knob. I mean, that's naughty list, right? Breaking the terms of parlay.
That's pretty. Yeah. What? Yeah. That ain't no.
So, the people that make that call to fire upon the ships is the Grey Knights. So Grimnar still goes and takes the meeting and lands on the bridge of this ship. And the Grey Knight Grandmaster that's in charge of all of this is called Joras. And he admits to Grimnar that it was him that made the call. And in the blink of an eye, he's got a frost axe buried in his chest. The Grimnar just takes out this Grey Knight Grandmaster in like one hit on the bridge of this ship.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. And then this kind of goes into this kind of open war with Kisneros. But he still thinks he's in the right, this Kisneros fella. So he sends a second fleet, because he's got like this crazy fleet under his command, to hijack and take control and hold hostage the entire planet of Fenris. So, like, he still thinks he's right, trying to silence and kill all these people. So he hijacks Fenris, and the people of Fenris don't really know what to do. So they wake up Bjorn the Fell-Handed, another frosty, snowy fella from the hearth.
So you got to have him.
Another good Christmas beard. They kind of have this big debate, over what's going on. And Bjorn's like, no, I don't agree with you either. Like, you're not going to enslave the entirety of Fenris, you cunt. Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
You're just a bureaucrat.
You're not going to destroy Christmas, you bastard. Coming around. He's like the Grinch.
Yeah. The elves are in town. We're dispatching presents. I'm going to Harrods
Bjorn comes
tomorrow.
by here with his Father Christmas energy. Is like, you will not spoil Christmas for the people of Fenris.
So this negotiation goes badly. And just as the negotiation there is about to come to a head, old Grimnar translates from the warp with his entire fleet. And basically, Kisneros has to give up. He gets absolutely destroyed by the Space Wolves, and the whole kind of thing is over. But I thought it was a nice tale of good guy and bad guy, someone following the letter of the law and someone standing up for their morals. So do we think Grimnar's a nice list and we'll put this Kisneros on the naughty, or do you think he was right?
No, I agree with your assumption, or your conclusion. I don't know about this Inquisitor. He just sounds like a nasty piece of work. But Grimnar is like a classic. He's a classic character. Like you say, he's got a Santa beard. I mean, he's
got a sleigh.
Yeah, the sleigh model. I mean, I just think that, and we've said it before, Space Wolves, you know, you have a pint of, what's it called? Nod. What's it called?
Nod.
Yeah,
Nod. Yeah.
Good nod.
And play their game, and that they would be like properly jolly old fellows.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Yeah, I agree with both of you. I reckon we should put put one on the naughty and one on the nice. The ones correlating to the things that you guys said. But I also think that we should maybe put Bjorn the Fell-Handed on the naughty list.
On the naughty list?
I think so. I want to know what fell-handed means.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think I remember why he's called that. I mean, you can't put the fell-handed on the naughty list.
Not to worry.
He's a 10,000-year-old dreadnought.
Exactly. What's happened? The older the celebrity, the more likely he is to have touched kids.
Maybe there's an internal, some other Inquisitor will be having seeing what's on his hard drive.
Exactly. We need to see what's on his dreadnought hard drive. We must know.
He never lets himself get plugged back into the battle barge because he knows that they'll download his files.
Exactly. And he just comes in here, throws his celebrity around. Oh, it's maybe Bjorn the Fell-Handed. But does anybody know? What does Fell-Handed mean? I don't know.
Well, I thought I'd just let you guys run with that for a while.
Bjorn the Busy-Handed, more like.
He's given the title, I think, by Russ, because he kills like this.
As a way to whitewash his many crimes. Yes, we know that now. So who's next on the naughty nice list, guys? We need to get this list filled out before Santa comes back round and takes his horrible vengeance upon us.
Well, I was racking my brain earlier, and I actually want to put the leading man of the year of 2024, Captain Titus, on the nice list.
Okay.
Because he spent 100 years serving in the Death Watch because he was accused of being a traitor because he held an artifact for longer than perhaps he should have. And he, certainly in the game, doesn't bat an eyelid, just continues to fight. He's demoted. Well, he's allowed back into the Ultramarines because they need him. He's demoted. He serves Primaris Marines. He is turned into a Primaris Marine because he nearly dies in the Death Watch at the beginning of the game. And he doesn't bat an eyelid. And everyone starts like bitching about him and saying like, where's he come from? Why has he got 4 service studs in his head? Like he's 200 plus years old and he's only a lieutenant. People accuse him of heresy. All of this happens and he's like, fine, fair enough. I'll prove that I'm not a heretic on the battlefield. And he just fights
for itself.
Yeah, and he fights and he fights and he fights. And he kicks ass. And as it was the year of Captain Titus with the new Space Marine game, the models that have been coming out. Yeah, I think
single-handedly raising GW stocks as well.
that is so true. Those,
Hello,
what a guy.
FTSE 100.
What a guy. That is there. God, that's news. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I know you haven't seen it yet as well, Matt, and I won't give any spoilers. But
I know what the thing is. Yeah, I know the Amazon thing.
That theme of continuously having to prove himself, even to his closest allies, is followed up in the amazing secret level Warhammer 40k episode.
I didn't realize he was in it. Is he in it, or it's about him?
Yeah,
it's his backstory.
It's a direct follow-on from the end of Space Marine 2.
That's great, isn't it? The way that there's this character that just made up in a computer game 10 years ago, and he seems to have caught people's attention and imagination. I think that's cool.
It's pretty cool.
That episode, if you haven't watched it and you're listening to this, just pause us, come back to us. Obviously, best podcast around, but go and watch it, because I think it is although I've enjoyed some of the Warhammer Plus animation, some of it's very good. It is the first Astartes level animation since Astartes. Yeah, it is fucking great.
So any other naughty and nice people? Who's been naughty? Who's been nice? What's been going on? I want to put the person that made that tweet about the female custodes into the naughty list.
Oh, what tweet?
Right.
Wasn't there a tweet where some person was like, "Oh shit, I've got the custodes have always been ladies" or something?
I think there was. I can't quite remember.
Yeah,
well, I totally agree with you.
Someone who brought the internet's attention to something that probably wouldn't have been noticed by the average reader. Fueling fires.
Yeah.
It just seemed like, because if that was lore, then that was a weird way to drop some lore, right? Because I mean, that's what it's all about. When we spoke to Gav Thorpe, he was always like, lore first. Everybody, James Swallow, lore first. These guys, it's all lore driven. And then they just like change a piece of lore in a tweet. That was so bizarre.
Yeah, very, very strange.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. The Games Workshop sent out a weird tweet, didn't they?
Yeah, was it like
one of their media team?
I think what happened was they were like, "Oh, we're going to release a female custodes."
Yeah,
and everyone was like, "What? That ain't right. That can't be right. What's going on here?" And then they were like, someone tweeted and said, "Oh, it's always been that way," or something.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. It's coming back to me now. I deleted it. Trauma response.
Well, yeah.
Well, we've got it now.
Yeah, they deserve to go in the naughty list.
And it's but this isn't to do with the female custode. I want that make that clear. It's just that I
want them in the Stoney. You know I want them in the naughty list. Get them in there. I've got a nice list, another nice list, and it's kind of similar to Matt's.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put in a vote for poor old Dante. New model this year, new Blood Angels range, 1,100 years of service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Slayed the Swarm Lord, almost single-handedly stopping the destruction of the galaxy by Hive Fleet Leviathan. Begged for death. After that, he was so done with work that he begged for death after he was wounded by the Swarm Lord. But he saw a vision of Sanguinius that said he must hold on. So Gilliman made him Lord Regent. Imagine that. Imagine being just about to retire. You've had the perfect career. And someone comes on and goes, no. You're going to be CEO for the next 500 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a real Dick Cheney up in here, right?
And actually, that's sort of. I want to put the lion in the naughty list.
Oh,
okay.
Because I mean, what's he done?
Yeah, he's done fuck all. You're right. I'm with you, man.
Fair enough. Yeah, get him on that naughty list. You're right. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He was like man of the hour last year, and now what's he done? This time next year, it's like, what's he done?
I mean, well, he's linked, isn't he? I mean, he saves Dante from Angron, dispatched Angron, and then disappeared.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his brother's banging an Eldar, and he's doing nothing about it.
And you know what? I want to put Angron on the naughty list as well, because he's been a pile of shit too. What's he done except for come back and lose a bunch of stuff?
That's true.
Absolutely.
Reappear and die all the time.
Oh, this naughty step's filling up fast, boys. We need to think of someone good. Who could go on the good step?
Well, I was thinking based on End and the Death, Volume 3. That came out in January this year, right? So we found out the end of everything according to Dan Abnett. And I think the old man, the old regent of terror himself, Malcador, deserves a spot on the nice list because he gives up his life to sit on the golden throne whilst the emperor is away. He burns in like hideous pain for as long as he can possibly stand to maintain the Astronomicon. And that is surely that's worth a space on the nice list.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and shout out to Dan Abnett as well for not like complete, as you've said before, like what, 60 books or whatever, and the last book, or supposedly the last book, and it's the same ending that we sort of already knew, and he didn't muck around with it, but wrote a group of books. I mean, credit. And Malcador sacrificed his life like we thought we knew, and Dan Abnett didn't muck around with that story. He fleshed it out, he added to it, he made it better.
I completely
hasn't
agree.
ruined it.
You're right. We going into Christmas last year, I think I just finished End and the Death Volume 2. The first part of the trilogy was great. The second part, I remember being a bit disheartened.
Yeah.
But he came back in January this year and absolutely smashed the ending out of the ballpark. I think pulling together the threads of tens of authors and 60 odd books, like you say, into one cohesive, interesting final end for people that already know the key points, and being able to put surprises in there that didn't piss off the fandom, I think was a tightrope to walk, and he definitely deserves a place on the nice list.
Get him on there.
I mean, we're talking about real people, and we mentioned it, possibly not in the recording, but the what's the actor called? Henry Cavill. I don't actually. There sort of needs to be like a purgatory, because he. So there was that Instagram post like a week ago, and it's got like 1.5 million likes or something. It's him with Warhammer tagged in outside his original hobby store in Jersey, and it was, it's been so long since we've heard much about it. There's been lots of rumors from people saying that he was out and that he'd bailed on it, and it was like, no, I don't know. The post, I mean, obviously it's a post on social media, but it just sort of felt a bit genuine, and it's kind of like, it's still, stuff is still happening.
I'm just going to say,
still cares about.
I'm just going to say, I think Henry Cavill is casual as fuck. I don't think he's like a true blue, like cut him. He bleeds Warhammer like the listeners of this podcast. I mean, think about this. We've got like so few listeners. How deep into Warhammer do you have to be listening to this podcast? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no, like, Henry Cavill, I'm putting him on the naughty list because I've got like all I do. And like, Welsh, you'll attest to this as well. Like, we've got, like, you've done that awesome viral video type thing with you going to that thing in Thailand, whatever. How many comments on that are just people being like, oh my God, Henry Cavill should go to this place?
That video has literally got, but maybe you can't deny his impact, because that video has now got 3 million views.
It's true.
And I think the comments about Henry Cavill in the comments are probably more comments about Henry Cavill on that viral video than we have listeners on the podcast.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. But I mean, so yeah, you could see that like people are like, they associate Henry Cavill with Warhammer. But what's going on? Like, what happened to that? Do you remember like Ashton Kutcher? Who's Deadpool? He's the Deadpool guy, right?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Sorry, man.
Ashton Kutcher.
I always get those two confused. But he loves Deadpool, right? And he like fought for ages for that movie to be made. and like you know he got it done. All the rest of it, like I don't feel like Henry Cavill is what to Warhammer what Ryan Reynolds was to Deadpool. You know.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. This is what I kind of. Yeah, I didn't want to say nice, but I can't put him in the naughty. I think that he is a genuine person that has been into the hobby. What
edition did he start playing? Why won't he answer the big questions? What edition did he start playing?
Well, yeah, we should get him on for an interview. Maybe that's our big interview for next year.
I've been trying. He keeps refusing to answer my questions. I keep throwing them on brick. I keep tying them to bricks and throwing them over his wall, and I don't hear anything back from him.
Well, it sounds like you're not going to be able to give him a lifetime achievement award either, Stoney. But maybe in 10 years' time, when we're still old and decrepit doing the podcast, we'll look back on this and we'll think he deserves a place in the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Shame.
Oh, yeah.
I dare you, Henry Cavill, if you're listening to this, come on our show. Debate me. If you're a real fan, you will be listening to the Large Blast podcast. Everybody knows that's where the true Warhammer fans are. If you're listening to this, come round here, debate me, and I'll prove what a little prophetic man you are.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay.
Fulgrim in 40k.
Hey, Large Blast podcast listener. You came back to old Warhammer Santa here. Well, that certainly was a good list, wasn't it, boys and girls? But that is just the beginning of what Santa has in store. You see, there's still the matter of the very bad thing that the LBP boys did last year. During their Model of the Year report 2023, they said this.
The winner of 2024 will definitely be, without any shadow of a doubt, Fulgrim in 40k will win this competition next year. Absolutely 100% certain.
And this got Warhammer Santa's hopes high. My spirit soared with the prospect of spreading the fetid beauty of the Lord of Desire to all the little Warhammer boys and girls. It filled me with such joy. But alas, I awoke to find still no Fulgrim. Only a cavern of disappointment that quickly filled with rage. So do me a better Model of the Year for this year Large Blast podcast, or be prepared to join my army of helpers.
So hello, welcome back everybody to this Crimbo Model of the Year edition, where we take a look back at all the models that have been released this year, the fine year of 2024, and we decide what is the Model of the Year. So who wants to go first? Who's been looking at these models? Who has some opinions on them?
Can we draw some lines first? Are we doing only 40k?
Yeah, I don't think anything ages Sigmar, so I reckon Necromunda and stuff is still cool.
Well, then perhaps we should get the elephant in the room out of the way and say the old world release was excellent, and we all agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've been trying to, since we've been having a chat, I've been trying to find a bit more information on the models this year, because it's kind of weird. There's like there's no
big standout model, is there, man?
Yeah. There's just been lots of little things, and they've been amazing little squads and stuff, which we'll get into, I'm sure. But yeah, there's no Primarch, there's no Commander. I mean, we just mentioned the Old World. I think most of the Old World stuff had been previewed. It came out in January, but it was previewed the year before. I don't really know what that counts. In my logic, I'm not going to talk about the Death Corps of Krieg now, because they're not out until next year, even though we've seen them. So I
think there's a bit of a tale of two halves here. I've got my one. For me, the Model of the Year was the Kroot Shaper, because he exemplified that amazing Kroot re-release box this year.
Yeah.
I think every single model in that box was incredible. And if I could nominate the entire Kroot release, I'd say that. But
yeah,
he kind of exemplifies that. And I'll chuck the Vespid in there as well. That whole Cow auxiliaries were amazing. And I think it's in stark contrast. And I think we've said this a couple of times. It's almost like there's two design studios at Games Workshop at the moment. Those models, in comparison to what I thought was a properly lackluster Dark Angels and Blood Angels release, which just missed on almost every model for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the big giant golden elephant in the room, which was Cotier's.
Oh
yeah, my model of the year.
Yeah,
I love that guy. He's great. Yeah, absolute shite.
I mean, the Blood Angel stuff. Lemate's the character. I thought there was some that had a nod to the old stuff. I didn't think it was as bad as some people, but definitely no, they could have done better. I mean, I was just looking at the Kroot and thinking the Kroot, I don't know about the particular character, but like the Kroot range is just amazing.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I mean, it's like we've said before, it is an old Forge World range partly. And now they're starting to flesh that out like they are with the Death Coil, which is quite interesting to see what happens with that. Yeah, the Kroot are incredible, but also the Night Lords.
The Night Lord kill team.
Night Lord kill team. I thought was good. Sort of came out of nowhere and had it had character. You knew what they were, but probably the Kroot more for me. They just, I don't know. They really
hit the nail on
full
the
of
head.
Character.
They do, and they're different enough as well. Like obviously they're very different in terms of what they are, but like I feel, sometimes you can feel like there's this certain box of tools that Games Workshop use, like the chainmail's the same on numerous models, things like that. Whereas the Kroot, it just felt like this. It's really new. Everything there is like a new piece of design. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I like. We've got to give a nod to the Kroot, for sure.
Yeah, I think actually, my actual final selection, and I wasn't going to choose this because I was going to go with the Kroot, but just to say something alternative, I'm looking at the list on Warhammer Games Workshop website. I can't see it here, but I'm sure it counts. Is the 2-man sniper unit of the
the Ratlings.
The Ratlings, yeah. Just because it was silly, there was lots of little bits of character, and as much as we want it to be grimdark, there's always been so much silliness in Warhammer, and you don't want it to lose either way. You don't want it to lose its grimdarkness, but you don't want to lose its little bits of silly as well. And the Ratlings are perfect for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really funny. I feel like I've kind of come to some sort of like an epiphany during the course of this episode, in a way, where like I'm looking at the Dark Angels and the Blood Angels releases here on this list of stuff that we have, and we've talked about. Let's not call it cartooniness. Let's call it like graphicness, like kind of like comicness, like bold lines, things like that. And you look at the different design kind of principles between the Dark Angel stuff and the Blood Angel stuff. And in a way, I really like that. I like the fact that stuff looks different on the tabletop. It was always disappointing to me that like the Blood Angels and the Dark Angels, or whoever Space Marine chapter you bought, the only thing that differentiated them was the transfers you put on them. Like I always feel, so I think it's cool that it's kind of funny, Welshie, that you said the Dark Angel stuff was your least favorite stuff, because I quite like it actually in a way, but I can also see why someone wouldn't like it because of that kind of graphicness, the kind of lean into the sort of maybe the it's getting a bit over the top, maybe a bit too pantomime-y in a way, you know, some of that
I actually think the Dark Angels releases, if you're looking at them there,
Mm.
are an example of both good and bad. Because I think those Inner Circle Knights are some of the best Space Marine models we've seen in years.
The ones in the robes.
The ones in the robes.
Mm.
But if you compare that to, I don't know his name, but the guy with the 2 smoke bombs next to him.
Yeah. See, I quite like the 2 smoke bombs.
They are completely different design aesthetics.
It is, yeah. But I don't mind the smoke bomb band. That's just it. It's like I just kind of like the difference on the tabletop, but I can also see why. But it's funny because I'm not a big Space Marine fan anyway, so it's not like any of this is really letting me down necessarily, you know.
Yeah.
I think maybe you know what, I'm going to go model of the year, Big Brain Necromunda. No, sorry. I'm going to go.
No, Stoney, I was going to say I had about £1 million on you picking Big Brain.
Well, I'm not doing that because I realised that underneath Big Brain Necromunda lady is the one that is my actual model of the year, which is the lady with the sword and the fleur-de-lis on fire. I think she's a sister of battle and all the cool shit around her.
Sacrifice Averine, I think.
Sacrifice Averine. I love that model. I think it's like this really was a model where it feels like someone's just said, just go crazy. Just put in as much random shit. Make the base as big and stupid as you want. Oh, what? The sword's on fire? Fine, let's do it. You know, I like it. I think it's really cool. And I think that's awesome. But also a shout out to the Chaos releases as well, because I think those are cool. The sort of sergeant guy or the chosen man with one leg up is also really cool.
Yeah, lots of decent little models, but a strange year. I mean, normally we're sat here debating 2 like 300-point models.
Yeah.
There's just been no big guy released this year.
And we know why.
He's coming.
Yeah.
He's always coming.
He's closer than ever.
He's not just coming down your chimney, he's coming down everyone else's.
So anyway, we need to decide on what will be the model of the year. So what do we think should be the model of the year?
If I have to pick one, Stoney, I agree with you. I think that that Sisters model is true perfection in a single model.
Oh, do you really? I didn't really like it.
Really?
Really? Yeah.
But Matt, you did like the Kroot, right? You like the Kroot release.
Yeah.
And I think all 3 of us can agree the Kroot release was spectacular. I mean, I could almost take any one of their special models as being model of the year. I think they're all different. They're all cool. I like them all except for the one jumping, doing the kind of on one leg on a bit of scenery. But all the others are fucking cool. So let's just say Kroot in general win 2024, right?
Who would have thought it? 2024, the year of the Kroot.
Definitely not us, because we all said Fulgrim was going to be here this time. So.
Ho, ho, fucking ho, Large Blast podcast listeners. It's your friend, Warhammer Santa here again, and I grow furious with the failure of the Large Blast podcast. How could they have not picked the limited edition Christmas gobbo on a squig? Their Christmas spirit lies as desecrated as a turkey carcass, and my ancient fury rises. I have given them one too many chances, and it's time for them to come with old Santa. Time for them to go through the grotto, beyond the rivers of Leth and Coccus, and their sister Styx. Beyond Dis and Bedlam to a fathomless kingdom. Warhammer Santa's kingdom. Only here you will not call me Warhammer Santa, for that is a word from your clumsy tongue. Here I am. And you will call me Master from now on until...
You've got mail.
Oh, wait a second. Santa has just got an email. Oh shit! Games Workshop just previewed the new Fulgrim model. Oh man, it's fucking sick. Well, that changes everything. Santa is in a fine mood indeed. I guess the Large Blast podcast boys were right with their predictions the whole time. Yes, now I come to think of it, they always said it would come out about now. And that's what you think too. Ha! Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas to all.
So hello everybody and welcome to the last Christmassy part of the Christmas show, which is the Lords of Law quiz, where I pit Matt and Welshie against each other to find out who is the Lord of Law. And let me tell you, it's been a nightmare this year, boys, because I've had all the Primarchs over to my house for a Christmas dinner.
Oh, yeah?
That's right.
Ooh.
And there's been, and some of them have done all the kind of classic Christmas faux pas, you know. So I want you guys to tell me who did what Christmas faux pas at my Christmas party.
Okay.
Okay. So who was impressed by Kevin McAllister's traps when we watched Home Alone?
Conrad Kurz?
Kurz.
No, not Kurz.
Ferris
They were like, oh, this guy's doing a real good job of defending his household.
Manus.
No.
Lehman.
Dawn.
Dawn,
Yeah.
Welshie. Christmassy point to you. Someone got the Christmas cracker joke. What do you call a deer with no eyes? Of course, the real answer being no idea. But someone thought the answer was fleshlight. Who do you think that was?
Pilgrim.
No, afraid not.
No.
Who thought a deer with no eyes would be called a fleshlight?
Angron.
Kurz!
Oh.
Welshie! Kurz. Who kept guessing all the answers to my charades before I could finish them?
Magnus.
Magnus the Red.
Afraid not, no.
Lorgar.
No, somebody else who knows the future. He could see into the future.
Sanguinius.
Sanguinius saw into the future and he saw all my charade answers before I could do them. Who got a boner whilst watching Elf?
Fulgrim.
Guy thought it was an elder.
Rabute
Gilliman.
Gilliman.
Gulliman! I think, Matt, you got that one.
Yeah, I got Rabute.
Yeah.
What? No way.
He said Rabute Gulliman.
Yeah.
You just got in
Yeah.
there with Gulliman at the end.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Who got too enthusiastic carving up the turkey?
Angron.
Angeron, Welshie. Who showed up 2 hours late after pounding a reduced 2-pound bottle of Frosty Jacks, ate all the leftover sprouts, then fell asleep on the sofa, gently letting out a consistent stream of farts?
Russ.
No.
Oh, that was dog-like behaviour. Mortarion, the fart.
Mortarion, the farts, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Who made a metalcore mixtape called All the Bands You Should Get Into as their Christmas gift?
Korax.
That's right. Who forged the star on the top of the tree in a pit of molten lava?
Perturabo.
Vulcan.
Oh.
Vulcan.
And good
That's
accent, by the way.
Vulcan. Who kept trying to spark up conversation about chemtrails and saying they had some government secrets on the
Lorgar.
deep web they wanted to show me after dinner?
Oh, Alfarius.
It is Alfarius. All right, so this is the last question.
Oh.
Who was waiting outside for an hour because they didn't have the depth perception to ring the doorbell?
Magnus.
Magnus the Red with his one eye. Welshie.
Yeah.
That means you win 10 gazillion Christmas points and win this year's Christmas Lords of Law. How do you feel?
Ho, ho, ho. I'm going to give them to the refugees of Armageddon.
Oh,
Huzzah! Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you have a great Christmas. Is there anything you guys want to say?
Hurry up,
Join
Fulgrim.
us in 2025 for more bullshit Warhammer content.
Fulgrim 2025!
Yeah.